Once again, today's the seventh day of Christmas. Um, if you've been following my stream, you know that last night. Let me just do a couple of last minute checks here while I'm beginning the first introduction to the stream tonight. My crew's not with me tonight. A lot of you know Paul, my assistant manager, my assistant producer, is um, he's not exactly on vacation. He likes to say he's on vacation, but really, I think he basically quit. I haven't seen him around here for quite a long time. And it all started with the strike in Hollywood. He said, well, he couldn't work, for those weeks out of solidarity with the writers. Okay, that was all right with me. But since then, he's just been hardly seen around here. Let's put it that way. And I got to do everything myself, but I do have the brainwaves up. Um, I shouldn't say I do everything myself. I got the key grips over there, um, the best boys, the hard grip. Um, who else? What other kind of grips we have? Um, camera people, lights, all the stuff. But in terms of the internet stuff, like I have to get this thing going. Those are the brainwaves. And I need to explain how those work. Okay, they work according to what they receive from my brain. This is a Muse 2 EEG headband, and it picks up signals um, based on a gel that I put. The gel just kind of helps to, I guess, um, it's like a contact between the skin and the sensors of this. And then um, somehow it transmits, I guess, through wireless or Bluetooth, but it goes into the computer. Or it actually goes into my cell phone, and then it goes through a program called Screen Stream over HTTP, and it shows up there. But as I'm playing, you will see the brainwaves changing. They're constantly reconfiguring according to a lot of things, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. I've noticed that the delta wave, which is the red one, gets like really high with insights. And I've also noticed that the alpha wave, which is the blue one, gets really, really high when I'm totally happy about some position or combination, what's happening. So, you can find your own patterns, I guess, on there. So let me go right ahead now, and we're going to go in here to VChess, and that's the board right there that we're going to be looking at first. Oh, um, the last few days, we've been studying combinations from The Art of Chess by James Mason. And today, because it's the seventh day of Christmas, that's right? So 25 is first day, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. So yeah, that's 7. Today's the 31st, and it's the seventh day of Christmas. So we got, only 5 more. So I hope you're enjoying your Christmas. I sure am. And let's do another one of these Christmas broadcasts because they're a lot of fun. And we've been studying the caro-Kann during these Christmas broadcasts. And as luck would have it, today I played a game without. I played a caro-Kann without any inaccuracies, without any blunders, and believe it or not, one mistake, but on the last move. And I'll show you how that went down. It was an interesting last move where I saw a way to win his queen. So I said, well, I'm going to win his queen. So I moved and to win his queen. I was going to win his queen, and he resigned. And then I put it in Stockfish, and then Stockfish told me, "Oh, you had a forced checkmate in two instead of winning the queen." So I made that mistake, but still won the game. And so that's why I think it's a really good game for us to go over, because I've been teaching how to play the caro-kann, and because this was a game that's fresh in my mind. I just played it today, and because it's basically like a perfect game. It's maybe not up to the same level as some of these really star chess players that you know about, but it's not bad if you're in if Stockfish says you don't have even one inaccuracy, not one inaccuracy throughout the entire opening and into the middle game. So it's a good opening. So we're going to take a look at this and to study the caro-kann opening, and you'll see that this opening was very consistent, and it worked. I mean, I won the game and ended up how many? I've got 49 viewers, and not a single one is chatting. Um, Jump right in there and chat when you can, because that's what it's all about. But a lot of my viewers, you'll see, most of the people on Twitch, they've got 49 viewers, and they're gonna get a lot of chat from those viewers. It's because I got the brainwaves, and most of my viewers are just zoning out. I don't know if they get mesmerized by the brainwaves, and I guess they forget to chat. But um, if you're watching the game, jump in on the chat, because it's makes it a lot more fun for everyone. And plus it wreaks havoc with my brainwaves. You'll see. So let's go ahead and click through this game, shall we? Um, my camera guys are telling me to take off the glasses for a little, because there's like a little bit of glare going into the cameras, I guess, but that's all right. Um, so let's go ahead and start from the beginning. This is the caro-kann, and caro-kann you play against pawn to king 4. And that's basically the first move in the caro-kann. It sets up the next move, which you'll see, which is there. This is a classic opening in the caro-kann. Um, you see this all the time, and you see that very often too. And black also takes, and then white is going to get ready to castle and move a knight out. And I, as black, I immediately pin the knight. The bishop is pretty safe there, and it's I'm gonna you're gonna see that black normally doesn't have a lot of problem developing these pieces in the black and castling. It just works out that way in the caro-kann. And also, I want to get this bishop out, because this pawn move is going to come up to let this bishop out. So you got to always bring out your white square bishop. That's one secret to the caro-kann. Bring him out pretty quick. Now I bring out the knight, kind of like the opening rule, knights before bishops, and then he's already castled. I'm going to get ready to castle too, because I moved my pawn forward. He's attacking my bishop, so I'm going to have to move him out. And you'll notice on the time, this is a 5-minute game with no increment, and on the time I've used just 4 seconds, because these opening moves go really straightforward for me, and he used 10 seconds so far. So you got to be careful with that move and not move something else, because he moves the pawn out and you lose it if you're not paying attention. Okay, and now I can already move the bishop out. Don't know why Lichess does it. It kind of makes all those arrows, and it's a little bit distracting, but not too bad. Okay, so there, I guess that's a very small mistake. That's not a mistake. That's just an inaccuracy by white. You can see here on the graph, the brown line is where we are in the game, and he went from a very slight positive to a very slight negative with that move. No big deal though. Looks like a good move to me. And I castle. He's got my knight pinned and everything. And now I have a slight advantage as black. And it's interesting that black had no inaccuracies, but only now is he starting to pick up a little momentum on, at least on the graph. Um, that doesn't look like it was the best move. You see, he went down again. If I put the mouse here, you can see where he goes down. That's where his inaccuracies are. That's where his mistakes are, and that's where his blunders were. But that last move was not really an accuracy or anything according to this. It was an okay move. Um, he wants to he wants to this knight apparently was blocking his pawn, so he's now I bring my bishop back. It might look a little bit strange, but it's setting up for a battering ram. This is a pretty strong situation with the queen and the bishop on this diagonal. I just got to get the knight to move, and I already got my bishop that can take the knight. So, I mean, it's possible. There's a lot of things that white can do to stymie that too, but it's just something to think about. Um, white moved the knight up into here. The blue arrow shows what he actually did, and it's saying that he should have removed this knight, and then I would have taken with that knight. That was a very iffy move. He like lost big time. Look at that. Wow. Um, he went way, way, way down with that move. Maybe you can see why he went down. I'm just looking at this. It was earlier today, and I'm pretty sure I was going for this situation here. I probably just took him because if he takes this bishop, well, the bishop is not a problem. It's protected by the knight. But even if it wasn't protected, after I take this, I can come up here, check, and get a really good check in here. His bishop would have moved. Well, his bishop's not there anymore, but I don't know. It just looks really strong. But like I say, I'm not going to lose this bishop anyway if he takes it because it's protected by the knight. So actually, yeah, I did that instead of the other thing because I wanted to attack his queen, and my plan here was to attack his queen, and then by moving this up, I got this pawn fork in mind. And the pawn fork is not just to win a piece, because the pawn he's got to move his queen, and after he moves his queen, I mean he can't take the bishop yet. He's got to move his queen, and then I'll move the. Then my idea was to trade the bishop because I don't want to just lose the bishop. So after he moves his queen, I would trade the bishop, and then when he takes back or whatever, then I get the pawn fork. So I win one of these pieces. And what's even worse is if he moves this knight out of the pawn fork, I still have this battering ram coming down there. And if he doesn't move the knight and I take the knight and then advance the pawn up, I get this pawn advance and the battering ram. It's looking, really strong for Black's attack. He's at minus 4.5 now, and he got his queen. He got his queen out of danger, and then according to plan, I took his bishop, and you can see from my statistics, zero inaccuracies, zero blunders, one mistake, but the mistake was at the very last move. As I said, I went to take his queen rather than for the mate in two. So far it's like no inaccuracies on black's part. Now he took there. Let me just back up 2 moves so you can see what happened again. So, okay, so I'll go to theirs. Okay, so I attack his queen. He moves his queen. I take his bishop so I can get the pawn fork going. He took my bishop because he figured, oh, I'll get a bishop and attack his rook. But that's another iffy move. You see how he's going down more and more. So then I took there because I was already eyeing up this battering ram. And with the bishop here, it's going to be checkmate if I move this knight out to anywhere and then threaten to come down here because the bishop now is covering this white square. And if he had taken this knight, it would have delayed me a little bit because then I would have had to come out here and he would have taken the bishop and he's still down, like 6.4. But the the pawn going there would have delayed me a little bit on the mate. But instead, he thought quite bad. Okay, I'm going to take this rook because it's a rook there for the taking. He decided to take the rook, and now here was my mistake. I was like looking at this, and in this last move, I think I took a little bit of time on my clock. Um, just going to see here. I've got 2 minutes and 54 seconds. And then after I moved, I had 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Oh, 3 minutes and 54 to 3 minutes and 16. Yeah, I took like 40 seconds to make this move. But I was thinking, well, it's worth it. Find a good move. And I missed the move, even thinking 40 seconds. I was thinking, okay, if I come out here, I threaten this queen. Um, how does it work again? Let me see. If I come out here and threaten his queen, and his queen comes back over into here, right? So then I have this move coming down here, check. And then when the king slides over, then I come down here, checkmate with my queen. Because you see, his queen is sitting on this square after he takes the bishop. So he can take the bishop that's guarding the square, but when he takes the bishop, he removes the flight square for himself. So when it comes down here, check, he moves over, and then the queen comes here. The king is sitting here, and he's blocked in by his queen. So it's going to be checkmate if he takes the bishop. So that's what I did. I moved the knight out there. It was a mistake because it only wins the queen. Um, the queen can't take the bishop, and it kind of like, I guess the only thing he can do to get out of this, I mean, I'm threatening checkmate right down here. He can move his pawn up to remove the mate, but then the knight takes the queen. So that was that's why White resigned. He was going to lose his queen and and still, even after losing the queen, be subject to a really vicious attack with a bunch of knights and queens and bishops and stuff down here with his king. So and that was the end of the game. He resigned. So that was an interesting caro-kann, and I think it could be. It kind of like kind of went over my head to tell you the truth. I'll just start. We'll just click through it really quick to get it fresh in your mind, and then we're going to play a game, probably using the caro-kann if we're black. We'll play a game in real time so you can watch the brainwaves and as I'm playing. And also, if we play white, we'll play a King's Gambit. So either way, it's going to be really good for brainwaves after we just review this one more time. So, okay, this is the caro-kann, very classic caro-kann. There you see the pawn coming up there, and he takes, I take, and then like I say, it's good to get the bishop out fast, um, so that it's not blocked behind this pawn when the pawn moves up. There's no real hurry to move the pawn up right away. So now it's going up. The bishop comes back. So now I'm getting ready for castling. He comes out, pins my knight. I castle. And this is just, developing the knight. The knight protects this knight. To do the battering ram thing, I want to bring the rook over first because I don't want to bring my bishop back to here and have my rook stuck over there. So bring the rook over first. Um, we reviewed that the first time. You remember Stockfish said that that was actually a good move. It's freeing up this pawn. So it comes back to do the battering ram. And he brought the knight up here. This knight very often comes up here in this caro-kann position, blocking things out here. It's kind of hard sometimes to dislodge the knight from there, but in this game it worked out very good because I had this. My queen's not here anymore, so it's not pinned, and I come out here attacking that queen. He has to move the queen. After he moves the queen, I have the pawn fork. Oh, before I do the pawn fork, let me back up. If I did the pawn fork right now, he wins the bishop, and then I win one of these, and so it's just a trade. So I got to trade the bishop first. So I trade the bishop, and if he wanted to retake the bishop, he could, but then I would get the pawn fork. And he decided, well, he doesn't want to be subject to the pawn fork, so he took this, and he thinks, well, I'll take this too. So he figures, well, this bishop is infiltrating to do some damage, and so then at this point, this was a kind of a obvious move for me because I'm thinking the whole time I want to get this battering ram working, and this knight is out there blocking me. So I've got the bishop hanging, whatever, but I'm thinking if I open up this diagonal against the king, I'm going for checkmate and everything. I would prefer to take this bishop out. Maybe he takes my bishop, but at least I got his knight, and then I also have the diagonal open, so I took the knight there. He decided to take my bishop, I mean the rook, and now I'm supposed to come up here. It's mate in two. I'm supposed to come up here, check, right, and whatever he does, then the queen just comes down here and it's mate. I mean, he's got to take the knight with the pawn or the queen, or he can move his king over there. But in any case, after this knight moves, the queen is free to come down here, um, checkmate. So I should have moved up there, mate in two, but instead I moved over there. I'm threatening his queen. His queen doesn't have anywhere to go. If it retreats and takes the bishop, which is guarding this square, it's still checkmate because as soon as he takes the bishop, the queen comes down here, check. The king slides over. My queen comes down here in the corner. And because his queen took the bishop, his king is going to be blocked in by the rook, the queen, and the pawn. So with my queen here, it's going to be checkmate. So um, he resigned. He was going to lose his queen and just decided to resign. So okay, that was a caro-kann, kind of an interesting caro-kann. Um, and now, without any more ado, I think we should probably play a game so everybody can see the brainwaves because I know that's what you're here for. Um, I really like the brainwaves too. And to make this fair and everything, because I do get chatters giving me tips and everything sometimes. So I'm going to do a game that's unrated. But it's not going to be an easy game because believe me, these people that play chess, they don't care if it's rated or unrated. They play all out, and it's going to be a tough game. So we're playing what's called a casual game, 5 minutes per side, and we'll see if we get white or black. Okay, so we can play a caro-kann. That's what we're studying this week on the channel. And I just moved my pawn up past that, and when he develops his pawns up there, you just got to remember to, develop on this side. That's a good pawn position. If he does anything, oh, if he does that, then this can be quite strong. I've seen this very many times. The bishop prevents him from castling, and it's pretty strong. If he takes the pawn now, I retake with my bishop, and I got the queen and the bishop on this diagonal. This queen also attacks that. No, in this case, I think it's best just to take the pawn, because whatever he retakes with, this pawn can move up, and then suddenly my center is looking pretty free. Okay, I can already move up because you see, where can his knight go? I mean, it can go back to there and block the bishop, so that's probably the best move, actually. Is there anything I can do here? He wants to... Okay, I see what I can do. I'll explain why I did that right after this. I want to bring my queen up to here to prevent him from castling. You see, he can't castle now because... Okay, so he could have brought his pawn up here, but he didn't. And he still can't castle. He can bring this knight up here, though. Let me see. I don't know. This might complicate things a little bit. I'm just kind of like playing by the seat of my pants, as they say here. I really don't know how this is going to work, but I saw kind of like a symmetrical position coming up. And if I take his knight, he takes my queen. Okay, I can win a piece here, I'm pretty sure. I take his knight, win his knight. If he takes my queen, I take his queen, it's check. He's got to retake my pawn, and then I move my queen out. Okay, so I can move my queen out now with good effect. Trying to think where it should go. Probably this is strongest because I can get this bishop coming down into here. It kind of like limits his moves a little bit more. And my bishop up in here was not doing anything good. So gives me a tempo. He'll have to probably develop his knight to here. Oh no, he protected the pawn with his queen. So it still gives me a lot of interesting possibilities. I'm a piece ahead, by the way, so that's really good. I'm going to give his bishop some trouble here. Um, he's thinking about bringing his knight up into there. Okay, I just got to make sure I don't screw up and lose on the clock. Every once in a while you get a winning position like this and you lose on the clock. So don't want to do that. Looks like I can now bring a rook over into here. I think I should probably bring... I'm going to bring my knight over here because I think I'm going to have... I don't know. I'm a piece ahead. He's got a kind of an open position. He's going to spend a lot of time um, defending himself here. And hopefully I'll win on the clock. We're pretty close on time right now. I'm a little bit down. But I think he's going to have to start eating up time on his clock. It's going to be hard for him to control this too, because if he moves a rook over, I take the knight. And if he moves the knight, I come down here, checkmate. So, okay, I'm going to already come with this rook. He still has a problem. Now, you see, my queen is protected by my bishop. Otherwise, he could win my queen by checking me. Okay, I can put his knight in more danger here. I'm going to just kind of like trade down. We're still pretty close on the clock and everything. So I think it's probably to my advantage. If he moves his knight, I'm just going to take his queen. Yeah, I'm not going to overthink this. It's crazy to overthink too much. And I'm just gonna make sure that sometimes you trade down and then suddenly you lose a piece. Before I did that, I had to make sure this knight was not going to get lost somehow. But it can come up here. The knight can always come up here. That's kind of a thing about the caro-kann. When the knight goes over into that corner because of that pawn, when he advances the pawn, the knight can always come right there. It's a good thing to remember. Don't have to spend a lot of time thinking about that. Now, if he doesn't move his bishop, I'm going to trade the bishop too. And if he goes down there, I'm going to come up to this rank. This pawn is protected. It's always good to have a rook on that rank. I might be able to double my rooks on that rank. I'll maybe attack this pawn. The clock is still pretty darn close. I'm going to double my rooks already. If he takes this pawn, that's bad for me, I guess, but I think I will have some possibilities here because I can come up here. I'm just hoping I don't completely screw this up. If he takes my knight, I can take him. And I think this bishop and the king can protect against the advance of those pawns. Plus my rooks are behind them. His best move probably is to take that knight, because if he doesn't take the knight, I'm going to take his pawn with my bishop. He could move the pawn up. He's got to worry about this rook, though. Now I can take the pawn. I'm going to take the pawn now. That effectively blocks the pawn really good. Puts him in check. This will get me another pawn. Now he's going to checkmate me if I don't watch out. But I got everything protected. And I'm a piece ahead too. Just got to make sure I don't lose a rook or something in a really crazy way here. But I think I got everything protected. That was good. It's like almost a checkmate. Got to be careful here. I got to move my king to a black square and then protect it with my bishop, see? And we got 58. Gonna protect that pawn. He really can't take anything now. He's kind of like completely stymied. I just gotta, and I'm really glad that the clock is on my side. It's not exactly on my side, but okay, now I'm just going to advance this pawn up. My rook is protected by my bishop. My bishop is protected by that rook. I should be able to just move these things up and without wasting time on the clock. And now I'm just going to move this pawn up because now this should get me a queen. Now I came back. Now I'm going to just, because I don't want to, I know I can get one of these pawns to queen. Got 21 seconds. Should be possible. I got to make sure I don't stalemate him. It's the main thing. Now I have a queen, and it's not stalemate. Before I did that, I made sure he could move there. And then I'll check him there. And then he's got that move, and then I go there, checkmate. So, wow, did you see that? Look at that. Look at the delta. It's just going off the screen right now. But I always say that when I'm getting the checkmate and I see, wow, okay, it's there, boom, the delta always goes like way, way, way up. So that was a good game. We got some nice brainwave data. and it was another caro-Kann. So before we have anything more ado, let's do the analysis board. We'll just click through the caro-Kann and request a computer analysis. And it is the seventh day of Christmas, so that was kind of fun. That was a pretty fun game, and I'm glad it worked out because it's kind of like a Christmas present, not for my opponent, but for me at least. And let's see what we can come up with here. I'm trying to fit it all on the screen so you can see the graph and everything at the same time. You can see the analysis down here. Black had like a really winning game for a long, long time. So that was a really good opening. I did make one mistake though. It was right there, boom. But that was oh yeah, and I had four inaccuracies, no blunders though. So it wasn't like a perfect game, but it still could be educational if we look and see what the mistake was in the opening, and I remember not to do it again. So this is the caro-Kann. So far, we don't have you. You can look right over here. You see the brown line. We still haven't made any inaccuracies, right? Like a small and very small inaccuracy right there, but that's negligible. That one is too. The mistake is right up there. So up until that, it was like a really good game for black. I mean, they called that like Stackfish counts a lot of things as inaccuracies. Let me show you this, for example. Like right there, that's an inaccuracy for for black. That blue thing right there, and let's see what that was. Oh, okay. So I guess I'm gonna have to learn that. In the past, I never wanted to bring my bishop out here because I always thought I might get in trouble with these pawns. But Stockfish is actually telling me that the general rule of the caro-Kann even counts in this game, which is different than I normally see in the caro-Kann. But you still bring the bishop out. And I don't normally do that, but it's no big deal. It just gives white like a very small advantage. And maybe it's even good because white kind of gets flamboozled a little bit because you're not playing by the book, and it is just such a small. Now the mistake was my next move. That was my mistake, like a big mistake, because he could have come over here. He could have come over here attacking my queen. And it would have just put it to 0-0. Let's just play that out to see how that would be. If he comes over here attacking my queen, I can't really win a piece or anything now. If I take this now, he can retake with the queen or just trade pawns, and my queen's still got to move. So um, that was like a bad all-around move. I should have kept the pawn there because it stymies in the queen, it stymies in the bishop. It was a pretty bad move. I don't know what I was thinking to tell you the truth. Okay, so then after this, that was the one mistake that I made. There were two more inaccuracies in the rest of the game, but now black just has like a huge, huge, huge position because that was a blunder by. I'm going to back up here so you can see the blunder by white. So that was the big blunder. He went down to minus 3.3 because after that I can take the piece. And if he takes my queen, like I said, then I take his queen. And that's basically, he took that instead. But in any case, I'm a piece ahead because the pawn took the piece and then was threatening to take the queen with check. You see? Um, that's kind of like hard to calculate. Um, so I'll go back so you can see how it would have worked. So If I take the knight and then he takes the queen, then I take the queen with check. He's got to take the queen, and then I can take this pawn. This pawn's protected by this bishop, and he still can't castle. But he can bring the knight out to here and castle. But you see, I got 1, 2, 3 pieces compared to he's got 2. He doesn't have like any really immediate attacks. Pawns are equal, so that was, he lost a piece when he the pawn was sitting there. He should have brought the the pawn was sitting there. He should have brought the knight over here out of danger, attacking my queen at the same time. But instead, he attacked my queen with the pawn, and then, like I say, I can take the knight. So I took the knight, and then he saw, oh, he's gonna um, lose his queen and with a check unless he takes the pawn. So he took the pawn. And after this, you can see um, the brown line is right here, and he's down 4.2, and he never recovered. And this is not to say that it was a one game. I was constantly looking at things to make sure I didn't lose a piece, or I was always paying close attention, playing very conservatively. I talked about this during the game. It's very common they advance this pawn against the knight when it's here in the caro-Kann. Um, but then the knight can come here. It's pretty safe. It's not bad there. And if this pawn advances, you see when the pawn advances here, the knight can come here and it's protected by that pawn, which is almost always in the caro-Kann. So that's not a problem. And you'll see in the game I actually do. There I just traded queens because I'm kind of running down the clock. He attacked the knight, but I moved the knight out. And now we're paying very close attention to the clock to make sure we don't lose on time because there's a lot of stuff that could happen. He could get a passed pawn or whatever, but he didn't. And I started, mopping up the board a little bit against pawns. Right there, it was not going to be checkmate because I could have brought the bishop back, but still, it's kind of like a good time to give your queen king a flight square when you're playing a fast game and you don't want to sit there calculating all that stuff all the time. There he came down. I moved my king out. He attacks my bishop. I take his king and guard my bishop at the same time. Now I have a little problem here to do because I can't move my my rook off here. I would like to somewhere without losing my bishop, and I can't move my bishop without losing my rook. So what I thought is, okay, I'm going to move my rook to black and then guard it with the bishop. So it I did that the next move. So I moved my rook to black. He came over, attacked my rook, but now I guard my rook with my bishop. He could have at this point traded a rook for. He could have equalized the pieces, but because I won so many pawns, I would have won if he had done that, simply because I would immediately bring this pawn up to bring it down. And if he comes over and tries to guard against it, then this pawn's going to go. Right? We can play through that so you can see how it would have been. So I took there. Oh, he can't take that, but he can take this. Can take here, and then I take the rook, and then he takes here. Now I wouldn't move this down because he could take and then go back and get this pawn still in time. So I would move this pawn up. And now what's this king going to do? If he goes over in this direction, I'm going to move this pawn up. Let's see how that would work out. So I move this pawn up, and now he's not going to have time to get everything. If he goes this direction, I'm going to keep moving up with this pawn. If he moves over here toward this pawn, I'm going to move this up. He can't get them both. I mean, if he tries to go over here and get this, he can't come on the diagonal to get it. And if he thinks, well, I better go over and get this pawn, then this one keeps going. And then he thinks, well, I'll try to come in over here and stop this pawn then. And there's different things I could do. I could equalize the pawns here and just as a waiting move. And then when he goes over there, advance that one more. Or I can just start moving this one down. He can't catch him. He's only 2 away. And so that was a very easily won end game. So I hope you guys liked the game. And it is the 7th day of Christmas. We had some pretty good brainwave data on that one. It was a lot of fun. You saw my delta wave go way, way up when I got that checkmate. So wishing you guys all a good Christmas. And what's left of it? Well, we got 5 more days, I guess. It's the 7th day now. So yeah, 5 more days because there's 12 days altogether. And I hope you're enjoying these Christmas special broadcasts. And without any more ado, we're out of here. I hope you enjoyed the brainwaves. See you tomorrow night. Bye bye. Sleep tight and a farewell. How do they say? A Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.